Thank you everyone for coming. This is pretty exciting for me because I did like a couple of talks like 3 years back, and now this is my first in-person talk. So I'm really excited about it, to coming back to conferences and seeing people and learning from others. So it's quite good. So today I'm going to talk about build UI more confident using component testing. So I did some like questions before for the first people that came in, but I just want to know what is your expectation of this talk. So are you looking for learning how to do component testing technically, like how does it work? Raise your hand. Okay, a lot of people. Okay, and or are you also considering like learning about what is the why of component testing? What brings to your code base? Anyone? So almost the same people. Okay, good. So okay, I have prepared both. Let's try to break it. Let me reset my timer here because I need it. So first of all, I'm gonna start with a quote. This is a little weird, but I believe, welcome everyone. But I believe that we are getting into, again, to lives from what we went through. And I guess I thought this will be interesting to know or to share with you all. Every person is an opportunity for kindness. And this is important because every situation, kindness is key, actually. We need to be kind to other people. That's what moves us forward. And try to never pass that opportunity to be kind to others, to other person. To be compassionate, to listen, because we all are going through something. And it's good that we at least understand that and try to help everyone to go through it and have fun. So I just wanted to start that. That's Seneca. I don't know if you know who that is, but it's a very old guy. So who am I? I'm Horacio. I'm a digital designer. I actually study design, but I'm a self-taught developer. I came to the dark side, yes, I know. I'm also a father of two. I'm a NetHead instructor and also Escuela Frontend, which is in Spanish. And now I'm building my first startup, which is called Minter. Minter, yay. So let's see what is the goal of this talk. I already asked for it. Let's really define confidence in code, because testing or whatever it is, we're going to see that later, is going to help us to gain more confidence. And that's what we all want. We want to be confident to move faster, to do things better, to feel proud about what we're doing, right? Then I'm going to talk about a little story in Minter, which is kind of fun. And then let's go to the nitty-gritty stuff, which is the introduction to component testing, show some basic examples. And then I'm going to show you how I'm doing it actually in real life in our application, in Minter. Okay, so let's see if I can get to there. So when I was accepted to this talk, I did this tweet, you see that a couple of weeks back, about why people test their code. And I got so many different responses, not so many, like 6 or something. I'm not that famous in Twitter. But overall, all of them came to the same conclusion or kind of similar conclusion, which is more tests equals more confidence, right? And I guess we all agree on that because that's what we all see everywhere. Like, you need to test your code because it's going to bring you so much confidence and you're going to do better and you're going to do faster and you're going to do so much stuff. But I guess we need to first define what is confidence. And confidence is actually not something that is objective, like you do tests and you are more confident. That's my belief. I think it's something more subjective. It's something that depends on what you know, depends on what you've done, depends on what you want to accomplish. Okay, so let's try to define that. Let's try to help understand how confidence works for us or our team or our organization. So we either gain confidence or lose confidence, right? So how do we gain confidence and how do we lose it? So And this is a very scientific explanation of it. Actually, it's my explanation. It's not any scientific at all. But let's see how confidence evolves, right? So we think like confidence is like this. We see that we have confidence over there, time and below, and then gradually when we go through our professional life, we just like go up, 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 and it's a linear trajectory. And this is like the happy path. But in reality, it's something like this. Which is, it has all like hills and valleys and everything goes up, and you know that when you start a code base, you say, damn it, I don't know how to do, and then the next day everything works, and oh, man, I'm the best one coding. So it's something like this. So let's try to understand what are those hills and valleys. This is not a scientific, again, this is not a scientific explanation. This is my understanding of it, so bear with me. I believe every time we go to a hill, every time we are in a hill, is when you learn something new and you are starting to declining. Why? Because when you learn about testing and you don't have code that is tested, then you don't have confidence in your code because there's no test. When you learn, for example, a new library that is states management. Oh, states management is very controversial right now. When you learn it, and you haven't applied it, then you lose confidence in your code. You certainly think you need to use this in order to make your application better and to run faster and to do it like the real people do, right? And that's the hills. Then we go down because we don't trust in those things. We don't trust in what we did before. So then the valleys are when we start planning, when we start applying those learnings, right? When you understand how tests work, and you start testing your code in maybe a little application, and then you start applying in your code base, in your product, in your company, then you start getting confidence again, and you feel great, and you feel awesome. So this is good. And you see that there's like a little decline over there at the end. It's because this is today after you learn component testing. Because you're going to learn component testing, you say, damn it, I need component testing in order to gain more confidence. This is what everyone does. So just to be clear, I'm going to... There are actually two examples that I'm going to show you where not only testing helped me to gain more confidence in my code base, but also it's just our journey or my journey when I was developing this my application called Minter. By the way, Jan is over here. Jan is going to talk about more specifics about how people can do component testing in Storybook. So definitely you can check that out. It's in Mission 1 at 3:45. So shout out to my friend Jan. And let's go back to examples. So one of the examples that I got, how many times? 7 minutes. Damn it, I'm so fast. I need to slow down. So I was like, imagine this. This is the context. In Minter, in our application, we were 5 people. I'm not the only one anymore doing front-end, but when we started, I was the only one doing front-end development. So it's a blank code base. Anything, I can do anything. It's my application, so I can just do better. I can do I install everything that I wanted to. I can just make it the way that I want it, and it's going to be great. But as you may know, if you have that experience, that's when everything comes down. Like it's, you start adding too much things, then everything gets messy. No one is looking at your code, and it's just a mess at the end. So. Then, while I actually started learning about who knows XState or state machines or anything like that? Okay, some people good. That's another thing that we need to learn, by the way. So state machines are a way to represent the behavior of our application. And when I started learning, of course, I learned that, and I said, okay, I need state machines, but I didn't know how to implement it. Then I started playing around, and I was able to add state machines to a very tiny little part of our application, something like a model. We need to open a model. You see that it seems like something naive, but it has so many states, it has so many errors, it has so many things that you need to care about. And some things like state machines helps you do that because it helps you understand and model how your application needs to work. And you also, another benefit of using Xstate, actually, the company that is developing Xstate is called Stately, and they developed this editor or this visualizer of your state machines that lets you see something like this. This is actually the editor, this is the real editor in Minter, in the application. We have a rich text editor in the app I'm going to show you later. And these are all the states. These are all the transitions and everything that can happen in the application. The amount of confidence, the amount of trust that I have when I see this is amazing. It's very, very big. So not only you gain confidence with testing, you gain confidence also with applying things that you trust. Like, for example, in my case, is state machines. And also, this helps me to talk or to discuss behaviors in our application with non-technical people, because they don't actually need to care about how that's been implemented. They just see the diagram, they can play with it and see if there's any flaws or anything that we can change. So definitely check that out. Xstate, very good. I believe it's one of the things that in front-end UI helped me to evolve a little bit more in my career. So let's go to the ugly part. So Minter, from nothing to essential. That's like a tagline that I did in order to fill that slide. So Minter, it's let me see. So here, Minter is it's a new application. So every time I need to read our explanation because it's kind of big. So Minter is a hypertext system for knowledge management and open discussions, okay? So you can see these are two screenshots. You can see the left, you have a lot of publications or documents. And then you have here the editor. This is a rich text editor, similar to Notion or something like that. And then you can write, you can nest, you can do hierarchy, you can do many things. And also one of the key pillars of Minter is that we are a decentralized application. There's no client-server thing here. Everything works in your machine in an application. We actually have a backend, but it's in your machine. It's localhost, so it's like you're developing locally. But the editor is a really core part of our application. And when we started, we have many options to use, and we didn't have any test at all. We didn't even have like state machines or anything. I was just doing and coding and putting many use effects in a view and mixing up everything, and it was a mess. And adding to that, my colleague, which is the backend guy, who is doing the real thing here. I'm just doing the front end, which is not that important. The backend is the most important part in our application. He was very consistent doing tests. And I don't know if you've worked with someone that anything, maybe he didn't push too much code, but anything that he pushed is rock solid. Everything was working, like everything. Nothing was like not working at all, or maybe there's a fix over here. No. When maybe he will wait like 1 week, 2 weeks, but when he pushed that, it was amazing. Everything was working as planned, and we were good to go. In the front end was not that case, because me was the one that was doing the thing. And I was not doing any testing. I was just shipping things. In 1 day, I had the editor. In 2 days, I have the list. In 5 days, I have all the layout, everything. And we were working. But there were a lot of bugs, a lot of things that we didn't consider. The editor was very buggy. So it was a mess. So like having that comparison hit me very hard. Because I say, OK, if we want this application to work, we need to be very confident in what we are shipping. And we need to have the freedom to do stuff and to change. And because, sorry, water. I need to have those lights of water. I forgot. I'm sorry. So because we are a startup, the fact that we have the necessity of us to pivot and to evolve. Actually, I have another thing to do. I have a slide for that. Another thing that we don't have is users. So yet, but we're gonna have users later. So that's also another freedom that I had. So we need a system that enables us to pivot and iterate fast, Because we have a very basic idea of what we want, but as you may know, if you don't talk to users, you don't know exactly what it's going on. So we needed a system and an application that if we want to show to a user one thing one day and it doesn't work, we can change back to another thing and try to test again. So we needed confidence. We need this freedom. We need to be very fast in developing things. That's where I started using XState. That's where I started using component testing. So is there anyone with any idea of what component testing is? Jan, don't raise your hand. A little bit? Okay, good. Okay, so component testing is, I will describe it very vaguely, is like if end-to-end test and integration test has a baby. So you can test your application in a real browser. You can see things in the real browser, but you're actually not rendering the real application. You're not going to a URL. You're not going anything. And like I said, Minter is an application that works localhost, and you have a local backend. So for us, doing end-to-end tests needs to be in a different place because we're using Tari. I don't know if anyone knows what Tari is. Okay, good, awesome. Tari is like a competitor for Electron. It's built in Rust, and they have a different mechanism to do end-to-end test. So, and I haven't figured out how to do that yet, but we're going to do it. So I started researching about component testing, and in fact, component testing is something that you can do with many tools, many frameworks. Storybook, Playwright, and Cypress. So yeah, it's very good. Like imagine you can like the basic idea is that you can test a part of your application without rendering the whole application. So it's not, and you can actually see it. You're in fact interacting with the actual application in a browser that you can define. And of course, if you know those tools, you know that you can test in multiple browsers, you can test in multiple viewports, you can test a lot of things with different scenarios automatically. So that's what's the benefit of using these tools. Okay, so let's go to demo time, shall we? Yes. So let me do display. Where is it? Display here. So I need to do mirror. Okay, good. So now I can go here, and this is the example. Okay, so I built, actually, let me just run it, because I'm in Minter. Let me go to 2 and do pnpm run. What was? Start? No, def. Oh, so let me see. This is in episodes. This is live, guys. No, it's not here. Where is it? Oh, layout. So here, I believe is this. Yes, it's here. So let me run again. Actually, I run the test, but I didn't run the application. Now it is. Okay, good. So let me go here. Let me, no. Let me put this here. Actually, this demo, I'm going to show 2 demos. The first one is an example that is open source. It's over there, actually. You can see it right there. I'm going to share the link later in Twitter if you want. And then this is the application. So this is our React query application. And we can go to the episodes, or we can go home, and we can go to the characters, and we can render those. This is actually hitting an API, a real API, Rick and Morty API, the base API to test, to do like dummy stuff. So then let's try to, this is the app, so now let's see the test. So pnpm, test open. Who's using pnpm? Not many people. Okay, good. Interesting, interesting. So let's go here, Electron. I'm going to show this demo in Cypress, but again, this is doable in any of the other platforms, and it's basically the same. So so actually the test is very dummy. You see that I'm rendering, I have a test for the character page and the episode page. And you can see that I can assert stuff here. Let me just run the specs. And you see I'm mounting, I'm getting the character name, and checking that the character name is this one. I'm also getting the character gender and see that it's male. And also, that was a really bad example. And also the character status that is alive. So I can assert stuff in the real browser and rendering mocking data. So let's see how I'm doing that. If I go here and I go to, what was the test that so character, let's go. So character, I have this convention. You don't have to use this convention, but I have this convention to put all my tests co-located to the file that I'm testing to, and also with the .ci.tsx at the end. It's a convention. You don't have to do it. You can config that and change whatever you want. So here, you can see that I'm describing this is the should render. So I have this little function right here that returns me a client because I'm using React Query. Who knows what React Query is? It's an async state management library that you can use in order to do any fetching in your application. So this is this is a core part of what how I'm developed, because this is the only bridge that I'm using to outside sources. So that helps me to say, okay, if I want to test something, I know that I can just mock whatever this query client is returning. So it's easy to manipulate, easy to understand. I don't need to, I actually don't mess with the actual component. I'm just messing whatever the component is getting from React Query. So I'm getting into React Query, and actually, I don't know if that's real mocking, but that's my mocking. That's how I'm doing mocking. So I'm going to go to this create test query client that you can see here, console logs, like a real developer. So this function is going to create a query client which is with a special default, because React Query does a lot of refetching depending on if you are focusing the window again, or going back, or maybe they have some intervals that when the query is stale, and those things. I want React Query to stop doing that when I'm testing, because I don't want multiple queries to my mock, okay, to this. So I'm just saying, don't do anything, don't retry on mount, don't stale time, no refetch on window, no doing anything. So then I'm creating this mock data, which is first I'm invalidating everything, and then say if the developer is passing me any episodes, I'm gonna create a mock for every episode that is passing me. I also have this create episode functions that is just returning the actual episode with dummy data. So let me just go back. So here it is. And I do that for all the queries that I know my components are doing, right? So here it's episodes, then characters, then what else? Also inside, because this is a list, inside the characters, I'm also doing a query. I'm setting the query data for each one of those, right? So then with this, I effectively set the client to any time that the component do any fetch, it will return this. It will return what I want to return. So then, just for the sake of simplicity and to assert stuff, I'm returning from this function the client and everything that I need to return. This is a very basic example. Again, I'm going to show you how I'm doing it in Minter 2, which is a little bit more involved. But then you see that I have this function called test provider, which is just a wrapper, and I'm passing the client that I'm getting. And then let's see the actual code. You see that I'm using this CI mount with these squiggly lines, and that's because component. I'm actually overriding the mount function to receive things that I wanted to receive. So in this case, you see that the mount is going to run this function, and I'm going to get all these values from the options that the user is gonna pass, and then I'm going to render the component that I'm passing with the client that I'm getting. If I'm not getting any custom client, I'm creating our default one. Okay, so that's how every time I'm getting that in the test. And then if we go back to the test, you see that I'm using mount, character test, which is a function that is just wrapping my route in the memory router, because in this example, I'm using React Router version 6 or 5, or I don't remember which one is it. And because I'm relying on reading stuff from the path, I'm actually getting parameters from the router. So that's what I needed to do. But you see that I'm creating these all utils to make my test, which is right here, very, very small and very simple and very manageable. So then you see that I'm rendering the component. This is the component that I'm passing, and also I'm passing the client that I created right here. Okay, and then I can assert. I can do all the assertions that I want. And again, like I said before, I'm using whatever this create test query client returns in order to do assertions. Okay, and another thing that I also implemented here and helps me a lot to decouple test and also component testing from the actual UI that I'm rendering is using test IDs and data test IDs. I actually don't care what is rendering the character status. Like, I don't care. I know it's going to be something that's going to have a text inside. So that helps me a lot to refactor whenever I need to refactor something. It was easier for me to just leave the test as it is. I can refactor even the UI, put the data test ID, data attributes when it needs to, and everything works almost great. Because, of course, we need to change stuff from time to time. So, yeah, and then you can see that the test is rendering thing here, and everything is working. Okay? Good? First example. Now, let's go to the bigger one. So let me stop that. Let me go here. I actually have that running here. So let me run the test first. This is like in Minter right now, we have many tests that are, actually, let me see my time first. Okay, I'm good. So where am I? Here. This is all the tests related to the editor. So I don't care. I actually don't care about which editor we are using, which library we are using, because maybe we're going to change in the future. What I care is that what the user inputs is what we get in the backend. So we have a very complex scenario because we're getting one schema for the document. Then we need to translate that to the schema of the editor, because the editor doesn't like the schema that we have. And then whenever we do any change in the editor, we actually capture all the operations. We're actually not sending the full state back to the backend. We're sending just operations that happens. And why is that? Because we have actually a CRDT. I don't know if you know what a CRDT is. A CRDT to create different versions of our application, of a publication. So there are like 3 different states or different ways that we can represent a document or an entity, in this case a document. So I wanted to just get out of it and try to think, okay, if the user types hello world, I want to see in the operations that I'm getting a set text with hello world. That's it. I don't care about if it's that's a text area. I don't care if that's another rich text editor library. I don't care if the backend changes. That's what I know that's the contract that I have with my backend, and that's what I'm gonna test. Nothing else. No UI. Just testing like this. So let me just run it, and you can see it. It's pretty magical that you can see everything working like that. And I'm testing many things. Like, for example, I'm sending back, because whenever I render, actually I can just go here and mount, and you see that I'm getting the data. There's nothing there, and then I'm adding I'm expecting that the operations that I'm getting to the backend are the default blocks, because it's a block-based editor. And then here, I'm also seeing that if I'm rendering that and I press enter, I'm also asserting all the operations that we need to return, that we need to receive in the backend. So this is very powerful for us, because this helped us a lot, because we were, I guess this is like the 4th iteration of components that we've been rendering in the editor, and we haven't changed that. I haven't changed, because I'm the one doing it. I haven't changed the test in any of those iterations, which is the power of doing this kind of things. I'm testing the behavior or what the user is going to expect. I'm not testing my actual application or the architecture or anything like that. So yeah. And let me just go back to here. Let me just go back to stop mirroring. No. Okay, good. So now, if I go to the presentation, I have this, and okay, where is my presentation? Where is it? Send help. Here. Okay, here it is. There you go. So demo time. But nothing of this matters. And let me tell you why. Remember that I said that confidence is very subjective, and I guess I also think that testing your application is very subjective too, depending on what you've done in the past and what your experience is with working with teams or whatever. Not even big guys in tech agree on things on testing. I don't know if you saw that video, but it's these 2 guys. I don't know, it is the Primogen and Theo. They're pretty prominent. They're pretty good. They've been working for applications with 100 million users, and they don't agree on testing. And why is that? Because actually it doesn't matter that we test. What matters is that our users trust in us. And what they expect from our applications is what we deliver, okay? So there's actually, I started thinking about that after I watched this video, because Theo mentioned this in that, like, people are pretending that we need these things we call about testing and all this architecture and everything before we do. So you need to get those 100 million users before hire that senior developer to build this great system with tests and everything. So it's a balance, right? We need to balance that. We need to say, okay, it's better to have to just run fast and iterate and fail and go back again in order to get users and get to the point that we have money to hire someone or hire another senior developer to help us to make this architecture better. That's a balance that we all have to do. And that depends a lot of our last experiences or the team that we are and also the time that we are at that particular time in the product development. For us, for example, we've been fortunate to be almost 3 years developing this application without any users. Not that I don't like users, but it's another thing that we need to consider in order to do stuff. So the fact that we don't have users, that we could test and iterate and go and try and fail in our technical side is going to help us now. I have much more understanding of what we need, maybe the routes that we can go depending on the users that we're going to see. And just go and iterate and go fast. So these are some of the resources that I did and that I use. I actually don't have the slides here. I'm going to put the slides in Twitter. And also, I'm going to put the video over there. Maybe it's there. No, it's not there. And thank you. So I guess there are time for questions, maybe, I don't know. Yes, I'm going to repeat the question, so.
Okay, So my name is Alexei, and I have a test-related question.
Yes.
I work in one project where tester did those tests using Cypress, and I remember he had huge page objects files, which contains usually selectors. But my question is another one. I've seen that you also using utilities, some kind of helper stuff.
Yes.
Make you speed up tests.
Yes.
But my question is, have you ever been in a situation when you have to test those utilities?
Yeah, that's a good question. No, I haven't. I haven't. So the question was if I have the need to test my utilities that I'm using in my test. Which reminds me, there's actually something called mutation testing. I don't know if you know what mutation testing is, but mutation testing are tests that test your test. So you can go any further. So it never ends. So it depends on what you need, depends on your situation. I haven't been in that situation before because my tests are pretty much manageable right now. But yeah, I guess there's going to be a time that I need to test my utilities for sure. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
Do you run your tests every time manually, or for example, we use Cypress, and every time we push the Git repo, it's tested, and if the test fails, it's denied.
So the question was if I run my test manually or I have a CI or something like running my test whenever I push. I have both. So we have this is something that I learned from my backend co-founder. Run your test before you push locally. If everything works, then you push. In GitHub, we're using GitHub, we have actions that actually runs all the tests again. Back. And there are some things that you need to do. If you are using Cypress, I don't know about the other tools, but I'm sure they do something like that. There are some things that you can do in order for make the test less flaky. Because usually when you use Cypress, you can get some flakiness around. So there's some configuration that you can do in order to avoid those things. So we do both.
What are those? Because we have quite some tests, and once in a while, suddenly one fails.
Let me show you.
Because of
Yeah, I get what you mean. It's not fun. Let me go to my application. Actually, I didn't show you Minter. Let me just go. Let me just go to Minter and say Cypress, maybe Cypress config. So here. So yeah, you can, in run mode means headless. There's no UI involved. So we have 5 retries over there. And in open mode, which is you in locally, there's no run mode and there's no retry. So if it fails, it's going to fail.